All right, guys, welcome back to H-TownStories. I'm your host, Nick Ramirez. As always, this is a podcast for ordinary people to tell their extraordinary tales. And today's guest, this week's guest, is a friend from high school that I swear to God, we probably had zero conversations prior to this. I literally sent him a DM on Instagram, and he liked the vibe of the show, and he was able to come on. And so help me welcome my guest, Mr. Gabriel Morgan. Fake applause as always. Fake applause.
What's up, man? What's going on?
Man, so we were talking about, with the real estate stuff, man. You buying a house. How long you been at your house now?
I would say about a year and a half now.
Man, and like you said, when you get into it, you realize that almost nobody knows what they're doing when you buy a house.
Heck no. Just going into it and prior to being engaged and trying to look for a house, I had no idea what I was doing. I was pretty much with the chicken with his head cut off, just trying to figure out what to do, what to buy, what am I supposed to know? It was just crazy. So I had no idea.
And before we go any further, this show is brought to you by Urban South Brewery. Now, are they official sponsors? No, but I am sipping on their Spill fruity sour pineapple pink lemonade, and it is refreshing, and it tastes I just want to say shout out to y'all guys and thank y'all for that beer. But going into the real estate stuff, man, it is crazy when you realize, I think it's the numbers 11% of buyers, home buyers, actually know real estate investing. So you have the rest of the amount, what is that, 89% don't know what they're really doing and how to make the money. So going back to that book, when we first got here, I was telling you about the Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't read it at the moment that I read it, it wouldn't have probably hit home. If I had read it in high school or something like that, I might have not been ready to hear it.
Yeah.
But basically, it talks about Robert Kiyosaki has two different dads. He has a dad that's telling him, go to school, get a degree, work for a company. They'll pay you when you're done in 30 years. Then you have the rich. That's the poor dad. Okay. The rich dad he's a friend's dad that actually owns a convenience store in Hawaii. I think it was Hawaii. And the guy basically teaches him and his son, if you want to come work for me, you can come work for me in my convenience store, but you're not going to get paid for the first week. And so they came and they worked for free. And he, in a weird way, he taught the kids to look for opportunities. So then the kids found out that whenever they used the comic books, they would rip off the front of the page, throw the rest of the comic books away. So then they had this whole bucket of comic books. So then those kids took that home. And I don't remember what age they were. I would say the elementary or middle school. Okay. So they took them home, put them in their closet. They had a huge amount, and then they charged the kids 50 cents to come read as many comic books as you want. And they were only open from 5 to 7. And they paid their sister $2 a week to watch it while they did something. So they got all money up front. They didn't have to pay for the supplies, and they paid someone to watch it. So they weren't watching it. And they were making money while they were doing nothing else.
Wow.
So it was a weird way, and that was a weird lesson that he taught the kids. But it was a way for them to look at opportunity in life. Like going back to the house, man. You have an opportunity to move, right? A lot of people don't want to move when you first buy the house, but why? Why not? The homes. Real estate. It's the easiest way for blue collar people to make money. You buy a house, let it appreciate. If it's in an area that appreciates, sell it. Take your 20, 30 grand. And we talked about it last time. Not a lot of people have 20, 30 grand. Not a lot of people even have $500 in their account. Man. And so it takes one or two moves like that. And now you're sitting pretty and you can, put that money to invest and do a lot of other stuff. But yeah, man, it's crazy what you can learn from it. And if you just take that time to sit there and learn it. But I'm like you said, nobody teaches you these things in college. In high school, they don't prepare you for those things or those conversations that you're going to have, man. So how was your first house buying experience?
It was a little stressful for us. Reason being because we were actually trying to buy a house and also prepare for a wedding within the same, because I guess we started looking for a house because we got married April of 2019 and we started looking for a house late 2018, so about December. Oh, man. So we're trying to get something before the wedding, and the wedding was in April. So we had, I would say, about 4 or 5 months to look for a house. So, it was kind of crunch time. My wife was crazy stressed, and we were in the process of obviously trying to save money and also put in money into the wedding, and then also, kind of prepare for our honeymoon, which was to be, days after the wedding. So we kind of had a lot of stuff going on. And then it was stressful, but at the same time we were learning so much and kind of using that to our, I guess, advantage to, I guess, if we ever do buy property in the future or sell our house, we've been through that process, know this and that. But yeah, man, it was scary. I was crazy nervous. I was kind of scared that we weren't gonna have a house.
Yeah.
By the wedding. So it was stressful, but I mean everything ended up working out pretty great. So
that's good, man. That's really good. Anybody that's listening, read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It just changes your whole perspective on how to make your money work. So we'll start off. We'll get into the stories, man, and as always, just be candid and honest as possible. And someone out there is living this story, man. And thank y'all guys for listening again. Like and subscribe. I hate saying that stuff, but really, like and subscribe if you can, man. And we'll get into the stories. And so, where were you born, man?
Actually was born in New York, Queens, New York.
Queens, New York.
Yeah, man.
You're a New York kid.
Yeah, I wasn't raised there, but my current father still lives there. But yeah, man, I was there. I would go there as a kid every summer until leading up to like my freshman year. But looking back, knowing living here in Texas and then New York is this crazy different atmosphere, man.
Totally,
like,
man. Totally different.
Like I'm not. I wouldn't be able to live in the city. It's just too much.
Now you said Queens, New York, right? So
yeah, Queens
legit,
Hospital. Yeah.
Like, was it like a neighborhood in Queens, or was it like legit, like what you think of when you think of New York, like more of the inner city kind of style?
No, it was actually in a little,
because it wasn't looking like a neighborhood like this.
It was more closer, I guess you can suburbs, but I mean a lot of the houses were kind of built kind of like townhomes, I guess you can say.
Okay.
That kind of style where you have your typical street, your neighbors, but no yard. Barely any driveway. I mean, it's just everything's all packed in and nice and close. So, I mean, everybody knew everybody. It was just crazy, but it was pretty cool to experience, I guess you can say.
So you grew up in New York, and how did you end up here in Texas?
Well, majority of my mother's side of the family lives in Texas, specifically Houston, Corpus, and a little bit in Austin. Mm-hmm. So when my parents separated, my mother decided to move back down here to Texas with my grandmother. Mm-hmm. And I've been here ever since. So
man, so your parents got divorced. So we'll go ahead and jump into that slowly. So tell me about your dad. Tell me about your dad.
So my dad, he was actually born in Jamaica, and then moved over here as a kid. I don't know exactly what age it was, but my dad and my grandparents were actually from Jamaica.
He's got that badass accent.
Yeah, his age actually not too heavy. My aunts is, and my grandparents, I mean, they have a heavy accent. So talking to them and people hearing me over the phone with them, people are like freaking out, like, "Oh, dang, that's your grandma!" Like, yeah, man, they have a really heavy accent, but it's cool. I mean, as a kid, it was kind of hard for me to understand them because the accent was so heavy. But yeah, obviously talking to him throughout the years and me being older now, it's fluent. But
do you have any? Did any of the accents slip into you at times?
No, never. Just hear me being in Texas saying y'all all the time. No, it never did, bro. It never did.
So your dad's from Jamaica and he came over, and then so he stayed in New York. Why New York? Did you ever ask?
I never asked. I just know he went to school there, went to college, and then met my mom when I think they were like both either 19 or 20. So I mean, they got married pretty young. And then had me at 21. So, I mean, starting off, they were young. And at the time, my dad was going to college and stuff like that. So that's what kind of led to, him making the decision that he didn't want to, continue the marriage. And he wanted to kind of, be successful in his life and continue going to school and didn't want nothing to stop him. So that's what kind of led my mom to come to Texas and, decide to, raise me and, continue, going on with life.
So your dad decided that the married life wasn't for him.
Yeah.
So we talked earlier about your mom, but go ahead and share a little bit about your mom's background.
I guess as my mother has, she's one out of 3 daughters, and she is the oldest. So, growing up, from what, they told me and my grandmother told me, my mother was always the one that took care of her 2 younger sisters, which were my aunts. Mm-hmm. And she was kind of like the mother figure for them, as my grandmother had 2 jobs at the time. She would always be not never was at home, so my mom being the oldest, she would always provide for them, cook for them, make sure they're okay and stuff like that. So she kind of had to step in and play mom kind of early. And
so she had to really grow up fast.
Yeah, she did. So I think that's kind of when she met my dad, I guess maybe that's why she kind of led into, wanting to get married and have kids. Cause I mean, she would kind of really experience that as, as a young child. So she, I guess, wanted to make a family and kind of do it as soon as possible. So
maybe it was a way out too, of getting out of that responsibility.
Possibly, yeah.
For a while.
Yeah.
Man.
So,
I mean, how many other people are living that right now as we're talking, man? Like, where I think I talked to somebody recently that has that same situation that I work with, that is just, she's taking care of a kid that really isn't hers, and she's already 21. She's not doing,
That's
she's
tough.
not able to do the stuff that she wants to do as a 21-year-old. But, it is a tough decision, because at the end of the day, you got to take care of the kid. Someone's got to take care of the kid.
Yeah.
It's a sacrifice on some part, man. So she played mom at an early age, because mom's out there hustling, taking care of, and your grandma wasn't married or was divorced.
So she, I'm not too sure when they got divorced with my grandpa, but I believe, I'm not too sure when they got married. I don't know too much background on that, but I know they did divorce, and they did have, all three. They had, my mom and their two younger sisters, and then after that, my grandpa had remarried, and I believe he had 4 other children of his own prior to that. Yeah, so so that's a whole nother story. But so after that, my grandmother never remarried. She dated and stuff like that, but she never remarried.
Man,
so
that takes a strong woman to do that, man. To work 2-3 jobs, possibly raise those kids.
Yeah,
and man, that's incredible. And again, that's not out of the norm, right? That's not out of the norm. There's a lot of ladies out there that are hustling, taking 2-3 jobs, putting the kids to sleep, then going off to the next job. And
yeah, man, it's tough.
Man, shout out all those working moms, man. That's tough, man. I cannot believe that, some of us have to go through a story like that.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about your mom, and you told me about how she struggled with her alcohol addiction, correct?
Yes.
And so when did you first notice that your mom was a little different than other moms?
I would say when I was about 8 or 10, maybe a little bit younger. That's when she met my stepfather. Kind of going back to that, when my parents divorced and separated, she came back to Texas, and at that time I was about 6 months old, under a year, and that's when she met my stepfather. And my stepfather was a type of guy that was, always outgoing, and he was actually in a band, so he was always
exposed. What do you play?
He played the drums, man. He played the drums. He's
a rock star.
He still plays the drums to this day. I believe he's 52 now. He still plays the drums and tries to get gigs when he can. So it's the passion of that he does. But being a drummer, going to bars and stuff like that, you're kind of exposed to that type of environment. So. Growing up, I noticed, being in around that, my mother kind of took over her life, and where she always being in that, around those people who wanted to constantly be drinking, going out every weekend. It kind of caught up to her and stuff like that. So
she met your stepdad that was a drummer.
Yes.
And he would take you, so you would go with them to gigs too at bars?
No, depending on what it was. If it was like a festival or stuff like that, or kind of a more family oriented, yes. But if it was like more of a bar, then we'll kind of, they'll find babysitters for us and we'll stay at the house. But there'll be situations where they'll come back and, they'll be both intoxicated, but she'll just be super bipolar, have anger issues, kind of want to fight, my stepfather and stuff like that. So it kind of got pretty violent, due to her being under influence and stuff like that. So that's what caused it.
Let's unpack that a little bit for the audience. So you said that she gets angry. Can you give me can you tell us a story about one of the times you noticed when she was like just flipping out and she was intoxicated?
There was plenty of times. I guess I can name one specific. I believe I was 8 years old, and my stepbrother was babysitting us, and it was actually a neighbor of ours. She took care of us quite often, and they came home, and the babysitter left, and you can kind of tell that they were kind of some type of argument, or they were upset, and mainly my mother was.
You feel that energy, man. Especially as a kid, man. Kids know.
And what happened was, I'm not too sure in detail at the kid. I don't understand what was going on at the time. So I just knew that, my mother was super upset over something. There's no telling, but it got to the point to where it kind of got more physical, where she would push my father, hit him in the back, just kind of be violent, where obviously as a kid, we're not supposed to be seeing that. So And it was kind of like a normal thing now. Like every time they would go out, come back home, there was some type of incident to where she kind of be aggressive when it was really necessary. So I did see that a lot growing up as a kid. So
did she have like a hairline trigger kind of thing? Like once you set her off, that was it?
I feel like it just kind of seemed like she wasn't happy with herself. I feel like till this day now, I feel like she drinks because she's unhappy. And being unhappy, she wants to make other people unhappy. So I feel like that's what her problem is today. And knowing that, if she's not happy, she wants to make somebody else unhappy, or, make them feel miserable, etc. So I feel like, because don't get me wrong, my stepfather was a great man. He raised me since I was a baby. He took me in, and till this day,
6 months, right?
I'm 29 years old, and he's still there for me when I need him. So I mean, it wasn't initially just him. It was, I don't know, something my mother wasn't happy about herself, and she wanted to take it out on other people. So I think that's what was kind of what built up on her, and the alcohol didn't make it any better.
So could you share another story that you have?
Yeah, I actually remember one specific. So there was a time where I can't remember what I did. It was something small where maybe I think I didn't pick up something, or I didn't clean my room, and she got really upset. So upset where she was, pinching me and pulling my ear, and my stepfather knew it was kind of more aggressive to what it needed to be. It was something little where you can kind of, hey, take away my PlayStation or whatever the case would be, like
whatever 90s game,
whatever it was. I think it was PlayStation or Super Nintendo. I don't remember at the time.
One of those Sega Dreamcast people?
Nah, I never owned a Sega Dreamcast. And but yeah, man, it got to the point to where where my father had to step in and like, hey, that's enough. Like, you need to stop being, kind of doing that to him. You're hurting him, to a extent to where my father, and this was the first time my father's ever stepped in to us being punished. Because prior, of course, as a kid, I don't know if people still do this, or kids still have this, but we got condom marks.
Oh, okay.
Condom marks. If you get like a yellow or something besides green, that's it's bad. So father noticed that she was kind of being more aggressive than that was necessary, and he had to step in and tell him like, hey, that's enough. Like you're being and I to be honest, at the time, I don't remember if she was sober or other influence, but it got to a point to where he had to step in. She was taking her anger out on me as a kid, and as a kid, I don't know any better. We make mistakes, and I'm a kid, so.
You started. Did it give you paranoia on the mistakes? Like, were you afraid to make mistakes at times?
Not to a certain extent, but I wasn't like, I wasn't to where I couldn't sleep at night. I was gonna get hit. No, it was just to a certain extent where I know, certain things will trigger her to be like that. So as a kid, I wasn't a bad kid. It's just, there were certain things where I feel like, if I knew I had to walk on eggshells, I would. I feel like this is all for Mexican kids, but I feel like we all got spankings, got hit by the chancla, the typical thing. So, I've gotten hit like that as a kid, and it wasn't to where I got bruised, but, I got my butt got a little red, and I kind of felt it, but it wasn't to the point to where like, had to go to the hospital, or I had to call, CPS or something,
Man,
but
I don't even think that thought never even came to my mind at that young of an age. Like, I could call somebody that could get them in trouble, but then wait a minute, you don't think about the consequences of like, I might not be able to see my family ever again, man. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that never came across my mind. It never got to that point to where I felt like my life was in danger now. So I would never say that. Yeah.
So we're gonna dive deeper into your mom. It seems that most of our stories surround your mom a little bit more. So
yeah,
you said your mom struggled with alcohol addiction.
Yes.
Did she ever get any help for it?
Yes, she had a lot of people reach out to her. Specifically the men she dated a lot of good guys, I guess you can say, guys that I give respect for, knowing, and there was, as going into a teenager and her getting into relationships, I kind of had a little bit more understanding. And there were some times where, the boyfriend at the time would reach out to me like, hey, I noticed your mom kind of drinks, quite often. And I was like, and I'll be blunt with them. I'm like, hey, this is what her issue is, and this is what you're getting yourself into.
So first off, wait, step back a second.
Gotcha.
So your mom and your dad divorced.
Oh yes. So they divorced when I was 12.
You're 12. Do you know, like, did they sit you down and have a conversation with you? Did they tell you that this was going to happen? How did they present that the divorce was going to happen?
Last thing I remember is my mother talking to us saying that, hey, we're going to be living in different places. So she kind of said it as that. And I kind of already knew. And at the time, I don't know. I thought of it as like, hey, I get 2 Christmases.
No, you did
I swear
not.
I did.
You
I honestly,
did not. I didn't think to call CPS, but bro, I'm about to get 2 gifts. You're over there talking at school now. Check it out. I got 2 things.
More sneakers, bro. More sneakers, bro.
But I got 2 gifts. Don't take me down. Don't take me down with you. So let me live this moment.
I feel like it was a benefit for me. I was like, all right, cool. So so I never thought of it as a negative thing. As a kid, I don't know. I just never thought of it. I was like, all right, cool. Like, hey, we're gonna have 2 Christmases. I have 2 birthdays, whatever the case would be. So I was like, I was being selfish, like more gifts. So, and that's being honest as a 12-year-old kid, finding
true,
that
man.
out. So
that's true.
Yeah.
So they set you down and your mom set you down and said you're gonna be living in different places. Did you want to live with your dad?
In all honesty, it didn't really matter, as long as I went to the same school. I wanted to. At the time we just moved. My father and my mother just bought a house, and then a year later, that's when they separated. But I just wanted to go to the same school. I did. I would say we moved halfway through my 5th grade year, and then they let me and my sister continue going that elementary, and then my sister moved because the following year I went to 6th grade.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to finish out the year in 5th grade, and then I would go to a new intermediate, so I would have known anybody, but I want to at least try to finish my middle school. 5th grade. So that's the only thing I kind of asked from, like, hey, let me just finish school. And then, I'll go to the school that we, wherever, which was going to be my father's address because he still lives there to this day. So,
oh, wow.
He wasn't planning to move and switch addresses. So we just kept it like, hey, we'll follow everything towards my stepdad's address, and we'll just go to school according to that. And then wherever my mother moves, if it was a little bit farther away, she'll still plans to make the drive to take us to school. So that was kind of like, I guess, the thing that I was kind of, also all that really mattered for me is wanted to keep my friends.
So since you wanted to keep your friends and your focus was on staying in the school, was school an escape for you?
No, I enjoyed just being at school and like doing sports, PE. I love being active, and like at the time where we moved to the new house, down the street was like a popular park. So they had basketball, a big field, and that neighborhood, everybody knew everybody. So going out there, going to school, and then after school, finish my homework, and then go play outside was like
these kids don't know
life
that
for me.
anymore, right?
It was like life for me, man. Like,
how quiet this freaking street is, man. And I kid you not, there's like 10 kids that live on the street.
Yeah, back then, man, going outside was the thing. Like, even though, don't get me wrong, like during that time we had consoles, but I don't know, it was probably PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 at the time. But being outside and playing sports was like life.
We're like one of the
me.
last generations, man. I really think before gaming got a hold of everybody,
Yeah.
I mean,
don't get me wrong, gaming is fun, but if I had to choose, I would be outside no matter what. No matter the heat, the cold, whatever. As long as everybody's out there, we're having a good time.
We're still out there, man.
Man.
So, your parents get divorced, and you go and live with your mom. And what was it like? Living with your mom after the divorce? You mentioned that she had a slew of boyfriends. We're gonna call them skips.
Cool, skips. So what was the question? I'm sorry.
So like, talk to us about what it was seeing your mom going through a bunch of guys. Like you're basically meeting. Like, are you meeting a guy every month, every week, every year? Like, what's going on?
Every few months. Or
like, would you even learn their name at that point?
I try to, but as a kid, I knew this guy wasn't going to be here long, so I always had a guard up. I wouldn't be disrespectful, but I wouldn't be as open-minded because I know he won't be here long. He's just here maybe because he's bored. I don't know, whatever the case would be at the time. But I always had my guard up, so I was never gonna be like, oh hey, this is try to tell him my interests, etc. Like try to be deep in a relationship with them. I would just kind of like, be respectful and then boom, go do what I need to do, play video games, hang out with my friends, focus on school, homework, whatever the case would be at the time.
Did you find that you were like during that time, did you find that you put your energy into something else to kind of like, did you find that you were finding a way to escape that?
Yeah, I would say video games, being outside, hanging out with my friends. That was kind of something that I felt like that was very enjoyable for me, and like was able to have my little, I guess you can say, getaway. Yeah, you're right. And it was something that I can honestly say that helped me get through those times, knowing that, at least I knew that was stable and not her relationship, I guess you can say, like being outside and doing that. I'm like, hey, this is always going to be here, so might as well enjoy it. So
can you give us a story about one of the boyfriends that you met that you were like, and what type of guys was she dating? Like hole in the wall, dive bar guys, or you said a lot of good guys. Like, so what is it?
So yeah, kind of variety, and even like, different race, Mexican guys, white. I don't think she ever dated a black guy again ever since my father. Mm-hmm. But it was a variety. One specifically I do remember.
You telling me she didn't go back?
I'm sorry? No, she didn't go back, bro. I knew that was going to come up. Nah, she didn't go back, bro. It's funny. But one specifically I do remember, his name was Mike, and he was actually a truck driver. So there was a times where he was hardly home, but when he was always willing to, go to my football games and stuff like that. So cool. I took that, I appreciated that. That was something that meant a lot for me. Like growing up, like going into high school, was funny too, is like, I wasn't at middle school. I played football, basketball, everything. And then going into high school, I was crazy scared to get into football. I was scared that everybody was gonna be bigger than me, this and that. And come to find out, football was like a passion for me, in high school. And him and my mother were there at almost every game. Mm-hmm. Ended up, making varsity my sophomore year, and that's when at the time they were dating, and he was there at every game, which meant a lot for me. Like mm-hmm. being at my games, knowing that hey, he's been dating my mom, for a short period of time, but I feel like that meant a lot for me.
To put that effort in, man. That is hard.
So I knew that he was different. So he was here to stick around, and he had good intentions. So.
And how long did you stay with him?
I would say they were together for about 3 years until he was kind of just fed up, and her alcohol was controlling her, and just it wasn't getting any better. He offered her pay for rehab and etc., but she didn't want to do it.
Wow. Did you remember seeing any fights with them that you saw?
No, he didn't like to argue that much. So if they did do a big argument, he would leave. He felt like that was best to, let her cool down. And he was more of a, calm talker. And if it escalated, he felt like he had to, leave from the situation. So
one of the, I think if y'all listened out to Amanda Mezlanka's episode, I think the one thing that she said that stuck with my mind was that never approach the crazy. And so, there's going to be times, no matter how emotionally balanced you are, you might just lose yourself in a moment of anger or in a moment of anything where you're just frustrated. Yeah. And I thought the best advice that she gave was just don't approach the crazy, right? Just if someone's going crazy or someone's acting a fool, just ignore it or leave. Like, and that's a great thing that guy did, man. Yeah. I'm not even going to deal with you. Like, I love you that much. I'm just walk away. It's the easiest way to handle you. So she stayed with that guy for about 3 years. And what happened after that?
And then she got another boyfriend. This guy, I don't know, he was kind of a loser. Didn't work too much. But during that time, I was graduating high school, and then I was taking college courses and then working. So I wasn't at home as often, because I was going to school full time, working full time, and then trying to interpret, hanging out with my friends, going to the gym. Yeah. So I wasn't really home that much to, be around them. I still lived with them.
But you found other ways to escape, right?
Yeah, I guess you can say I've always kept myself busy. I've always had, things going on, which was kind of cool, kind of let me enjoy life and stuff like that. And I just know during that time we recently moved again. I think it was my senior year in high school, and then that's when she started dating this new guy. And I can tell he was kind of like a loser, a bum, whatever. He moved in right away, so I knew this guy was up to no good and didn't have the right intentions. So, and at the time too, like I was working, I wasn't really. Everything I was doing, I was paying for my own school. I was paying for at the time I had bought a vehicle. I was providing for myself, so I was actually still receiving child support because I was still going to college. So most of that child support, or maybe all of it, I never saw it. It all went to my mom. So she was, I think at the time she was working part-time and then was still able to afford rent. And then that guy was just bumming off us as well too. So yeah, it was kind of annoying, but I was just kind of just working on myself and trying to, get myself established. And I knew this was going to be just temporary. So
you mentioned a story to me about your mom dating somebody that stole from you.
Yeah.
So you can share that story with the audience.
So that would actually happen later on. I was about 24, 23. We moved again.
Wait. So you bounced around a lot?
Yeah, my mother moved a lot. So what happened for that previous house, we actually rented it from my aunt. And the house wasn't fully paid for. So when we paid her, she was paying it towards a mortgage.
Oh, there you go. That's what we were talking about, huh?
So yeah. So at the time, I didn't know what was going on. I was, I just knew my mother was getting child support from my biological father, and was paying for rent. So I didn't have to pitch in, I guess you can say. But during that time, we started receiving letters stating that this house was for foreclosure.
Oh crap!
So come to find out, my aunt was pocketing the money. She wasn't putting it towards the house. I was like, God. So
that's even worse. She's making money off her sister like that. Like, dang, that's doing some dirty stuff.
Well, this was my aunt through my stepfather's side.
So she was probably like, nah, this bitch needs it.
Well, yeah. She was
screwed over my
She
brother.
was kind of she married my uncle, my stepdad's brother. Yeah. And we all, as growing up as a kid, she was always sketchy. Nobody really cared for her. And unfortunately, my uncle passed away, and he had a lot of properties. I think he had like 12 houses, and she got half of them, and those were one of them. So she ended up, renting it to us, and sucked to find out that she wasn't paying the mortgage, and the city was gonna take the house, etc. So we had to find a new house, and my stepfather actually got a house of his own prior to the loss of his brother. So I guess my uncle didn't have any kids, so on his will, he gave every sibling a house, and then the other houses went to his ex-wife. And my father got a house, and my stepfather, and he was nice enough to rent it for us. So right after that incident happened, we had to move out, so he rented that house to us, and we started living there. And then that's when you asked the story, like, hey, this I guess my mother dated a new guy, and there was an incident that happened. Well, leading into that, we're in this new house. She's dating another loser. Nothing new. And
where is she meeting these guys? Like losers?
The bar,
losers
man.
Are us? Like, is she on losersonly.com?
I don't know what it is. Like the guy that has the least money, they just find a way to her. It's just, I don't know. It's annoying, but yeah, I grew up dealing with that as a kid. And so kind of going back to that. So one weekend, I think I was like 23 at the time. So I was, we were kind of just finishing up college, and all my friends, and they were always in that party stage, early 20s, old enough to drink. So we're like, hey, let's go to Austin, let's rent a hotel and just mess up 6th Street, just go crazy. So at the time, we made some arrangements to go. We left Friday, and the only person of course I'll tell my mother, like, hey, I'm gonna be in Austin. At the time I didn't have to ask for permission. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna be in Austin. And that was it. So I didn't tell her boyfriend because it's none of his business. So as I left, come to find out, she ended up telling her dude, like, hey, Gabriel's out of town. He'll be in Austin. He'll be back Sunday. So him thinking to himself, like, oh, Gabriel's not going to be home. Let me steal his shit, I guess. So I get a phone call Sunday morning, all hungover. And then my mother's like, hey, somebody broke into the house. I'm like, what do you mean? Weren't you home all weekend? She's like, yeah, I don't know who it was, blah, blah, blah. She was covering from. At the time, I didn't know it was him, but I was pissed. Like growing up, like me getting a job as soon as I got out of high school, and like working for the things I have, my vehicle, all my personal belongings.
So what was it that he stole from you? Like, did she tell you over the phone, or so you had to drive 3 hours back home?
I had to drive back home and find out what was stolen, but she kind of gave me like a summarize, I guess. But it was my laptop, my stereo, my TV, my PlayStation 3 at the time. Anything valuable, electronics, watches, anything you can find in my room that was, held value.
Okay, wait. So the house got robbed, right? That's what she said.
But initially it was just me.
So when you got into the house, are you expecting to see like the living room TV missing? Are you expecting to see stuff on the ground? Like, what are you expecting to see?
Yeah, I was expecting to see that, but it was, come to find out, it was just my stuff that got stolen. It fucking sucked, but
and like
I was so pissed, man.
Was she drunk when you got home? Was she already drinking at the time?
Well, yeah, as soon as she got that call, I was like, she was intoxicated. So somebody either came in the house and I don't know, or she had left the door open. I don't know, but either way, she kind of told somebody I wasn't going to be home. So, I mean, if the person's not going to be home, of course, whoever's has, you know, you're going to come in and like, I'm not going to get in trouble. They're not going to be here until Sunday. I know when they're coming back. So, and what's crazy is, and what's kind of messed up is that I always lock my room. But I did have a back door to my room that was the same key to the front door. What? Come to find out,
how do you sleep with the door like that in your house, in your room?
I liked it. I can leave the house without being, you know, waking up anybody. You know, it was kind of cool. I liked it. It was.
Did you ever sneak out?
I don't have to sneak out. I was my own. You know, I was doing my own thing. I didn't have any rules. As you know, my mother lived with me. I guess you can say. I didn't live with her.
Damn, so, watch out!
Watch out. But yeah, I had a back door, and the key was the same key to the front door, and come to find out, he had the key. So I was like, it clicked. He went into my back door, unlocked it, and stole what he needed to steal, and went on his way.
And like, was he like? Did he just go MIA? Like he wasn't here anymore? Like
when I got back, so we called the cops. Obviously, the cops aren't gonna do nothing, but I just wanted to have a report because I was like, hey, this is the guy. It's her boyfriend, and this and that. And so obviously, I didn't get my stuff back. They asked for the serial numbers. I don't know the serial numbers for all my.
Who the hell writes that?
Like,
down?
am I gonna take pictures? Yeah, I don't have any.
I'm leaving for the weekend. Hold on, I gotta do my serial number check.
Yeah, before I leave. Yeah, nobody does that. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'll come a loss. I'm gonna take it like a man. I'm not gonna be, you know, crying on social media like, hey, you know, you know, you win, you lose. You know, this makes you, I guess, stronger, and you know, whatever you have to do, just kind of just go on.
Bicep curl and
yeah, I guess so.
Anger.
This is my stuff.
I maxed out that next weekend though.
But yeah, so it actually gets worse, man. So after finding out, you know, he had a key, so I was like, all right, it's obviously him. Nobody else has a key because no windows were broken. And then second, you know, come to find out, I would say 2 weeks later, she's dating him again. So I feel like that was a slap in the face. Like,
bro, that is, man.
Exactly. So
like, you're okay dating the guy that just robbed your son, and you're going to bring him back to the scene of the crime knowing that, like, and you want to beat him up for doing what he did, but you're like, what do I, like, how did you approach that when you first saw him again?
I mean, he never came back to the house because at the time my stepfather knew the incident. So he's like, hey, this man is no longer allowed on my property. I was like, that's fine. You know, whatever, if he does, call the cops. But the reason how I found out is through my sister, and you know, Pasadena's small, so everybody knows everybody. So come to find out, a friend reached out to me saying, "Hey, I saw your mom with that dude at the bar, you know, last night." And I was like, "Wow, it's messed up. A slap in the face. Like, she honestly don't care, you know, about my feelings and you know what I mean to her." So leading up to that time, you know, prior to that, you know, she always had these incidents, and some of my friends kind of knew, my close friends kind of knew the situation, not everybody. And they'd always tell me, like, Gabriel, why do you let her stick around? Why do you ever always give her chances? And I had that mindset of, you know, like, hey, you know, my mom will change. I can fix her. Like, you know, I know I'm all she has left, but I know I can do it. And I had that mindset for the longest, you know, until, you know, met my wife, Gray. And when at the time, me and her were just friends. We weren't dating, and I kind of, you know, she was actually my best friend. You know, I would tell her everything. We'd open up to each other, and I told her, you know, what was going on, and she's like, why are you doing this? Like, she's just gonna hurt you. Like, there's no benefit from this. Like, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money. You know, this is something that you should just kind of just cut your loss and just move on. And you know, a handful of friends told me that, and I just had stuck in my head. I was just like, no, I can help her.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also really hard to say that about a parent, right?
Yeah, it is. It really
is.
You
know, you got to do what's right for you. You got to do what's best for you as a person and for your own happiness. And sometimes that decision means you're gonna fuck shit up somewhere else, right? You're gonna cause another problem, or you're gonna make a decision that you have to stand by. And you know, for people on the outside in looking in and be like, well, just leave your mom. Yeah, but like, that's still your mom, right? She gave birth to you. She still took care of you. She did everything. Is she the best person? not that not whenever she takes your PS3 and back dating the guy, but you don't want to let go so easily either, right? Because then you also don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, I can just let go of you even if you're that important and blood to me.
What sucked too, that was my birthday weekend, man. It was my birthday weekend, yeah, bro. And
so you had a great time in Austin,
for my birthday, and then get a call. I was just like, bro, come on. So at the time I was dating, Gray, we were boyfriend girlfriend at the time, and
y'all were going steady, as they say back
then. I guess so. But
I gave her my 11.
But what was cool, man, following month was Valentine's. Guess what I got, bro?
Mm-hmm.
She got me a PS4.
Oh, man.
She and I guess you could say that's when I knew that I was putting time into somebody that was putting time into me.
Yeah. And
I realized Gray did this, to help me and make me feel better. And, she was doing this for me. And that's when it transitioned, where I knew the time I was putting into my mother wasn't gonna change, wasn't gonna benefit me, she wasn't wanting to do better for herself and do better for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the needle started going towards more Gray, and I started putting my time and effort into her, and starting to realize hey, my mother's not gonna change. I'm wasting my time, and I think it's time to move on.
So you said that you started putting time into her. What kind of time were you putting into your mom to kind of help her change in a way?
Just trying to be there for her, mentally, financially, anything I can do to help her, change her ways and have her become a better person, and, just try to make her happy.
Any story that you remember, like I really did this and I thought she was really gonna see a shift, and you thought you were gonna really see a shift in her personality or a shift towards you, and then you got slapped in the face with it?
I honestly thought just me trying to help her financially. There was one incident specifically where she was actually staying at home. She couldn't find a job, and I told her, like, hey, since I'm have a little bit better job at the time, I kind of got a raise at work and things were going good, and I'm like, hey, it's okay if you stay home. This is something that I feel like you can try to find the job you need. She was actually going to school at the time.
Oh, wow.
And she was going to school for billing and coding, and I think she was in like a short little program. So at the time she couldn't really focus on work. So I told her, like, hey, do this. Get this, whatever you had, the certification, what you have to do, and then I'll give you time to find a job. So she did that. I think she had to go to loan out because she didn't have the money. And she did that. She got the loan. She passed the courses, whatever she needed to do, got her certification, and then I think she found a job. Yeah, she did find a job. I'd say a few months later, and then working for some type of office. I'm not too sure. They gave her decent pay where she kind of get herself back on her feet and stuff like that. And tax season comes around, right? So me being, I don't know, I think I was like 23, 24 at the time. And I was making more money than her and stuff like that. So when she filed for her taxes, she still owed money for the loan.
Oh, okay.
So by that, she claimed me without telling me. So when you claim somebody and they owe money, the IRS took money out of what her taxes, and then they actually took money out of mine. So I didn't receive an income tax that year.
Dang.
So
were you counting on that? Were you looking?
I was looking forward. I mean, that's something that I feel like I throw in my savings, something I can treat myself with, etc. And that year, I'm sure she knew, but me working my butt off the whole year expecting a tax return, she claimed me, and the IRS took her money for the loan, and they took my money.
Yeah.
So
you were left high and dry, man.
Yeah, man. So
and it sounds like you said 23, 24. So that's around the same time that like getting having your room robbed was only just a couple months before, right? I'm assuming. So it was like that hit, then this hit, and then Gray gets you the PS4, and you're like, that's it, I'm in love.
Yeah. She's the one.
So it sounds like you just had consistent disappointment.
Yeah, man.
And it's hard. It's hard for kids to see their parents disappoint them. in such a unique way, like where you're like, it wasn't something that was crazy, like disappointing, right? Like, but she's doing stuff to undermine you as a person in a way. Man, it's got to be infuriating to do, especially knowing that you helped her for so long.
Very selfish. Yeah.
It's just really sad, man. But it makes you the loving, caring person that you are, right? Like, and it helps shape you become a stronger person, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine, like the struggle emotionally that it took and the toll that it took on you to kind of, deal with that stuff and then come out of it still level-headed, man. Like, was there a time that you felt like that you kind of lost who you were yourself at any point?
Never. Just growing up, I've always kept a positive attitude. It was just my nature. Like, I've never been, I guess depressed or disappointed. Like, I've always told myself, like, everything happens for a reason, and it's just move on and just progress. You just learn from this, and I still use that to this day. And I try to tell my friends that, or like people going through some hard times, I'm like, hey, it could be worse. I always tell myself it could be worse.
Yeah.
So I've always used that, in my life, and it's helped me so much. And, like you said, it's sculpted me to, the man I am today. So,
but, it's hard dealing with that. Cause then, at the back of your mind too, like you still want to, like, your first love is always your mom, right? Your first love usually is always your mom.
I honestly say that. Yeah. I can honestly say that.
And so you falling out of love with your mom is a difficult thing, I think, for guys that have to go through stuff like that. Like, did you ever find that you fell out of love with her, or did you?
I mean, during that time, the transition of like, Gray coming into my life, and then, my mother continued to, disappoint me. I just slowly kind of just like, I was just like, not to be like, rude, just, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm done. Like, I'm exhausted, mentally, physically. I just can't do it no more. And I can honestly say I said I need to be selfish and, work on myself and do what I want to do, to benefit myself.
So with that, guys, we're going to take a small break and then we'll be right back. All right, guys, we are back. And now Mr. Morgan is drinking another beer. Mr. Morgan,
good, man.
You want to shout out that beer?
Southern Star Brewery Company. What is this called? Sigord?
Yeah.
This sounds pretty good, pretty smooth. What's the percentage on this though?
I think it's 6.1 or 6.4.
You can't even 6.3.
Mm-hmm.
Pumpkin Ale.
Man.
Nice.
Are you a big beer drinker? I know you got a 6-pack and everything going on.
I actually don't drink much beer. If I do, it's water, which is probably Tecate Light or Michelob. Yeah, so my buddies bust my balls for it all the time, but I don't care.
That's good, man. That's really good. So we're going to move on to, how did you meet your wife?
We actually went to high school together, and we were 2 grades apart. So when I was a senior, she was a sophomore. We knew of each other, but we never hung out. Didn't have the same friends. I was always with the jocks, I guess you can say. She was with she was always with like I guess in our terms, they call them kickers, or guys that drop trucks.
Way.
I don't know.
She was in a truck crew.
Nah, she wasn't in a truck crew, but she hung out with those type of guys. Those guys are always into trouble.
Got the mullets.
Get their brothers to buy beer and have weekend parties, stuff like that. So like we had different friends. But what was funny is so my senior year I got elected for the court for homecoming, and she did too for a sophomore. So what they usually do with homecoming, we'll go on halftime, go on the field, etc. Well, what was weird is during that process, I was standing with my, I guess, because I think senior year they chose 3 males and 3 females for the final, I guess, voting, and she was actually right behind me, and a good friend of mine in high school, his mother was always into like taking photos of us, through our years of varsity and stuff like that. So it's a special moment. So what's cool that I still have now is the image of me smiling with my date or whatever, and then she's actually behind me smiling as well too. So we're in the same image, not knowing each other, not talking to each other. It was weird, and then come to find out,
bro, that's how women work, man. She's like, I see this guy. He's got a cute smile. He's got good eyes. He's gonna. What is it? I was listening to somebody. It's another podcast. Shout out. What's her name? Christina Pazitsky, where my mom's at. She says all the time, like, the ladies that are on there come on, and they always say like, he didn't know he was my husband yet, but I made sure he knew.
Actually, she had that mindset.
Oh
she
my
told
God.
me that, bro. She was like, I like this guy. I'm gonna date him and I'll make him mine. And a few years later, here we are,
man. If a woman
man.
puts you in her eyesight, there's nothing you can do, man.
And so we went through high school together. We had that, I guess, that little moment knowing that I have a picture of her with her. We're in the same image without us ever communicating, not knowing who we were, etc. So after that, I graduated high school, was in college. At the time I was working at Walgreens, and come to find out, I worked at the Walgreens that was down the street from her where she lived.
Oh wow!
So often she'll come in and buy something or use the ATM, and then I've noticed she was coming more often.
What are you buying? Just this one stick of gum.
So she said that
one stick of gum,
yeah.
one almond,
one almond. Come to find out, she would go in there, pull money on purpose just to see me or say hi. So we had that going on. She would come in, I was super innocent. I didn't think nothing of it. Like, at the time, a girl be flirting with me, and I would have no idea. Like, this girl wants me. Like, I was clueless, bro. So during that time, she would come and visit. We would just hi and bye. We really didn't talk that much. During that time, I was never really in a relationship. I didn't go through a relationship in high school, college. I've always liked not saying being alone, but I liked my freedom. I feel like if I was in a relationship, I wouldn't have time for my friends. I wouldn't have time for work, for school, for the gym. So I didn't feel like I needed to be in a relationship. At the time, I feel like that wasn't something that was always gonna come along.
Would you say that you were fearful at a time of being in a relationship, seeing what your mom has gone through?
Actually, yes. I was actually scared to be in a relationship and then finding out that person wasn't as involved with me as I was with them, as in like feelings wise. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of, I guess, scared to get heartbroken or like be disappointed or like put in effort into something and they didn't feel the same way back. So that was because I've seen people go through relationships and, obviously my mother, and I felt like I didn't want to put myself through that. So I've always not made myself, but I always tend to be in doing something to keep me busy. And during that time, I was like, I don't have time for a relationship, like, don't get me wrong. I've hung out with girls and stuff like that, but I've always, I guess you can say, friend zoned them, knowing that they'll be there, but I didn't have to commit. So I was going through that stage in my early 20s, and then my wife changed the game. She made me tie down, made me stop talking to other girls, and it was just her and her only, and just, I don't know what it was. And just,
what was the moment that you realized that the girl that was coming in for one almond a day, every day, to come see you, when did you know that was the moment that you fell in love with her?
We actually started during the time when we hung out for the first time. I was actually talking to a girl that I was actually really into, and she was a very fast girl, meaning that she always wanted to do something, party, like, I was like, dang, how am I going to keep up? I got to save money for this. She wants to do this. So like, she was a fast girl. So she always she was younger than me. So
she was one of those girls you don't bring home.
Yeah. So I came to realize it, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was something different. We weren't in a committed relationship, but we're dating, I guess you can say. We weren't, labeled, but we're dating. And, we just went through, I guess something happened, came up, and she just like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to keep it as friends. I'm like, that's fine, So I was kind of a little heartbroken, So that weekend when she kind of cut it off.
Well, she friend zoned you, right?
She friend zoned me, man. And that was the first for me. I wasn't expecting that. I'm usually the friend zoner. Like, I usually friend zone you.
Six pack though, right? Like, you're not gonna get this again. You're in Pasadena, bro. They all got beer bellies. I'm one of a kind. I'm Jamaican too. You know that, right? Like,
but I was always the one to friend zone the girls. So that was my first time getting friend zoned. So I was just like, I was like, what the heck? Like, I did everything right. I was nice. I was a gentleman. I go to school. I have a full-time job. I have my own car. So like, what did I miss? And so at the time I was like, man, forget girls. I was like, whatever. So I was like, I'm just gonna chill with my friends, which I was doing original before I got into this relationship, I guess you can say. So during that time, me and Gray were still friends, and I saw myself going out a little bit more. It wasn't like uncontrollably, but it was just kind of like a little outlet to like, hey, enjoy life. I don't need this, you know? So, I actually felt good. So after that little kind of breakup, I can say, so, I was just like, man, forget this, you know, like I in my head, I'm like, man, I'm a player. I don't need to be, you know, I don't be tied down to one girl. Like I'm a G. So,
oh my God.
So I
can see you doing it. Like you're sitting in the mirror. You're like, chin up, Gabriel. Chin up, Gabriel. You got this.
So
I look good. All right, let's go.
So,
Mom, give me my gold chain. Give me my gold chain.
So,
I pawned it. Hold on.
Damn, that's messed up, bro. That's messed up. It probably would have happened, though, to be honest. And so that little incident happened, and then I was like, man, I don't need girls. Like, I don't be tied down to one girl. Like, I don't need this. So, so that following weekend, you know, I was friends with another girl. And I knew she liked me, but I mean, I liked the attention at the time. I was like, all right, cool, I'll meet with you. You know, so
that's very candid of you, man. I love that.
She called, you know, she texted me like, hey, I'm going out with some friends. Come meet up with them. And I'm the type of guy like, I don't need to be like bring a crew or like I can go by myself somewhere, you know, and have a good time. So like, hey, I roll by myself, you know, like my intentions weren't to like, you know, get crazy. I just wanted to have a good time, you know, like be myself. So I drove out there, met with the girl, and then my best friends called me up. They're like, hey, bro, we just left the rodeo. What you trying to do tonight? I'm like, bro, come through. I'm at the bar. You know, I'm here with some friends, you know. Yeah. Parentheses, some friends, whatever. So he's like, come through. So the friends came through. I kind of ditched her. I felt bad, but you know, homies come first, you know. So
well, they've been through you, right? They've been with you this whole time.
So I hung out with the homies. We were buying rounds, and it was kind of getting. I told him what happened. I'm like, man, this chick, you know, she left me. Like she didn't. Well, she kind of said we want to be friends, and I did everything right. And then my friend's like, man, forget that girl. We're gonna have a good time tonight. So all right, cool. So you know, the drinks were rolling, this and that, and then, bro, kid you not, she walks into the bar, bro. The same girl that you know ditched me walks into the bar, and I nudge my buddy. I'm like, bro, look who it is. He's like, forget that chick. You know, we're having a good time, whatever. So yeah, I'm having a good time. I'm trying to ignore that she's there. So she walks in. Obviously, I see her. She passes by. I mean, we have the same mutual friends. So everybody she knew, I knew. And what was funny is, she saw me having a good time, and I was like, yes, she knows I'm having a good time. I hope she, you know, she's miserable, you know. And I get a tap on my shoulder. And I told my friend, I'm like, who's behind me? He's like, it's her. So I ignored her. I blew her off. I'm like, no, I don't need this. So she was tapping me, Gabriel, like, hey, and I ignored her. And it felt so good, man. I was like, man, after that, I was just like, leading into that, so that night got pretty crazy where I kind of consumed a little bit too much alcohol, and I had to get somebody to pick up my car, and I was throwing chunks that night, and this and that, man. And the next day it was just horrific. And so after all that happened, you know, going through that mess, and then the next day me and Gray hang out, and
dang, so you're hungover hanging out with her?
I think it was the next day or probably the day after. I can't remember, but we did hang out, and I kind of told her what happened, and what was cool, she was there for me, you know, everything. I told her, you know, even though I kind of knew she didn't like that girl, and like me giving her attention and this and that, and I knew she wanted me to pursue her and us take our friendship further on. And which I liked was she was there for me. You know, she listened to me, heard me out, and I
mean, but the trust in you that she had to have to be able to be like, I'm gonna listen to this dude talk about this girl.
Pretty much. And leading into that, and that's when we were hanging out like every weekend, all the time, and I felt like she was my best friend first before we started dating, which was cool. You know, like. I can tell her whatever, you know, I can do whatever I want. Like I was able to like, you know, be myself, and we were able to enjoy each other's companies. And yeah, man, it was after that, it got easy. I kind of knew like, dang, this chick is the one, and this is someone I probably will settle down with and, you know, make my girlfriend. And the one thing I did kind of do regret, which was we were talking, I guess you can say, or dating. We weren't labeled. So I made her wait about 6-8 months until I called her my girlfriend, which at the time I wasn't ready for a relationship. I was just like, but at the same time, I wasn't really talking to anybody else. I was just still kind of enjoying my friends and knowing. And then,
so you made her wait for 6 or 8 months, and then you called her?
Yeah, man. And ever since then, everything's worked out. I mean, obviously we're married. We don't got no kids yet, but been married for going to this coming up April of next year will be 2 years, and yeah, man, best decision ever made.
That's congratulations on that, man. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
And how does it feel to have your marriage, knowing that you came from an unstable background with divorce riddling your past?
I don't know. I knew what I wanted, and I feel like when I made I guess the decision to put my time into her, I knew I was doing the right thing. And I don't know, I've always had good intentions, with anybody I come across or meet. I feel like if you know what you want in life, I feel like certain things will attract to you. And I feel like when I made that decision and put my effort into her, and I was getting it back, so it was something that I knew was meant to be, and it was something that I deserved. I knew what I deserved, and she gave that to me. So
that's good, man.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your financial journey. That's one of the questions that I like asking my guests now.
Started from the bottom, now I'm here.
So the reason why I like doing this little segment, and I guess this might be the first of many other segments, hopefully, but this segment I really like doing mainly because we tend to learn money from our parents. And we learn how to handle money from our parents and how it works and savings accounts and all that other nonsense.
I didn't learn any of that, but go ahead.
Yeah. And so exactly. So like if you don't learn it from your parents, or you learn it poorly from your parents because your parents were not really great financially, or maybe it was just a conversation you never had with your parents and you were expected to figure out through life. We're either going to be great at it or unsuccessful, and that all depends on who taught us. And so I want us to also be a way to communicate with each other about what financial journeys and struggles and things that we did to overcome, right? We're all normal people,
course,
and we all live, some of us live paycheck to paycheck. Some of us live, I could be 6 months off of work and never have to bat an eye. Or some of us say, you know what, I'm actually on the FIRE community, and you can, for those of you that don't know what that is, look it up. And I don't have to do anything. I can move to Portugal if I want and live there. And I think that's the family that I'm talking about. Is called Our Rich Journey. So check them out if you haven't seen them. But so tell me about your financial journey. You talked about getting married, and proposing, and how much was in your account when you did that?
I think when I bought the ring, that was all my savings, bro. It was just knowing. Well, she actually gave me an ultimatum. She was like,
she gave you an ultimatum?
Yeah, man. She gave me an ultimatum. We're, I think, going on year 6 of our relationship, and she's like, hey, if you don't propose this year, I'm leaving you. Straight up, man. And I was like, crap. Okay, so I thought to myself, all right, so I gotta buy a ring and pop the question. So during that process, I had no idea what to look for. She kind of gave me ideas of what kind of ring she wanted, which was a little pricey, but at the time, I feel like I can kind of maybe find something similar to it, or what she wanted. So I actually had a friend of mine that I went to high school with. He just recently got engaged, and I reached out to him. I was like, hey man, I think I'm gonna pop the question, and I know you just recently got engaged, and I wanted to see some help. If you can come with me, go ring shopping. So he's like, yeah man, so he sent me to Robin Brothers. Hopefully they sponsor me. No, it's funny. But shout out to Robin Brothers for getting my wife's ring. But I went to Robin Brothers right there by Baybrook off of 45 South, going towards like Galveston, and went there and didn't know what to expect, and knowing that I only had like $3,000 in my savings, and I think we found a ring. The ring she wanted was like $5,000, so I had like.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I just, and then at the time I think I was building my credit, so my credit was like average. So they recommended like, hey, you have to put half down. I was like, all right, cool. So me doing that though, that was like all of my savings.
Yeah.
So I was like, crap. So I was like, let me just do this and then save up again. Hopefully, if when I do pop the question, maybe she'll consider us giving us some time to save for the wedding, save for the house, etc. So got this ring, put half down, and that was all my savings, bro. I was like, crap. So broke again. So yes.
And mind you, man, like $5,000 for a ring. There's some dudes out there listening going, there's one or two ways that guys are out there listening. One, damn, he paid $5,000, or two,
That's
he only paid $5,000.
Hey, trust me, yeah. I've known guys that played double that. So
Jesus,
that was just out of my price range at the time. So, but I did good. The ring I gave her, she to this day she still loved it. She's like, I'm glad you got me this ring. I'm like, cool. I did my thing. I did the right thing.
When you proposed to her, you now have almost no savings, right?
Yeah. So doing that, so what I did was so when I proposed, we took a 2-week long trip. We actually went from Houston to Montana. So we're on the road for about 12 to 13 days.
Because you proposed to her on the road, right?
We drove. We did a 2-week trip. We did Colorado for about 2 or 3 days, and then we drove to Wyoming for about 2 or 3 days, and then we finished in Montana for about 2 or 3 days. And that was like, so full long. Like if you drive straight, it's 30 hours. 30 hours to Montana, 30 hours back. So it's a lot of driving. But during that time prior to us getting engaged, we were both into photography. So we started doing a little bit more traveling, and we kind of got addicted to it. Like, wow, we love going hiking and seeing these awesome spots. And it was something that me and my wife can share and do together, knowing that, we had this passion for that. And I was like, man, it would be perfect for me to do this and actually propose and do it somewhere with a beautiful scenery. I was like, man, this would be epic. I've never seen anybody really do this, out of my friends. Like, it'd be different, not your typical go to, wherever people do nowadays. But I was like, I want to do something different where environment that
unique to y'all specifically, right?
Yes. So I was like, let me just pop the question while we take this 2-week long vacation. So,
and at this point, how long is it from that ultimatum she gave you?
So I popped the question June of 2018, and for prior to that, so she told me the beginning of 2018, like, hey, if you don't pop the question by the end of this year, I'm leaving you. I was like, all right.
So every month she was like, I'm gonna pack one suitcase.
Yeah. So I was like, dang it. So I was like, as soon as she told me that, I was like, all right, well, I have money in my savings. Let me get the ring, like it was no hesitation. Like I wasn't going to think about it.
Yeah.
Like it was something I was planning to do regardless. I was just trying to hold off, trying to be more financially stable. Yeah. I wanted to do everything right. So, but some things happened. So I was like, I might as well just do it now that I have the money before I spend it. So, so I bought that ring and then ended up popping the question. We went on a hike in Montana with the beautiful lake scenery background, and got on one knee. I was able to capture it too, which was kind of cool. So
yeah, man, I can still see the picture in my head, man. And like there's a whole. This is why I would love to have you back on as a guest, like to be able to talk about your fitness journey. And I might edit this part out, so don't worry about it. But I might, I want to talk about your fitness journey. I want to talk about your travelings. And like your photography, there's still stories there. Like doesn't have to, obviously it doesn't have to just center over the emotional stuff, but still want to know more about that stuff. So you proposed to her in front of this beautiful scenery, and so now you are. How long did you put your to have the wedding? Like, did you do 1 year like traditional, or did you put it off for 2 years?
We actually did it in 10 months.
10 months.
So we proposed in June, and then the following April we had the wedding. And then that same month too, we closed on our house. Yeah.
So man. So you have nothing in your savings.
Nothing, bro.
And then 10 months later, you have a house and you have a wedding done. So how does that happen?
So after we popped the question, she straight up asked me, "How much money do you have in your bank account?"
Like after you get up, you're crying. Like, how much you have?
No, not that same day, but she just straight up. She's like, how much we got to buy a house? We got to plan for a wedding. How much money do you have? And I was like, I don't have anything. All my savings went to that ringy that's on your hand right now.
Were you scared of?
Hell yeah. She's when it comes to that situation, she's like really tough on me, but I mean in a good way though. But I was like, dang, like I was kind of scared to tell her, but another thing too, I mean, she realized, she didn't give up on me. She, we went through this and were able to, get everything financially and be where we're at today. But, it was nerve wracking telling her and let her know how much. And then, as soon as that happened, I think 2 or 3 months later, we did a joint bank account. Mm-hmm. And then from there, that's when, we started saving and, we put our trips to hold. I was doing a little bit more side work when it comes to like photography.
Mm-hmm.
So we put a lot of time into like, being, saving every penny and doing kind of what we need, and then reaching out to like a real estate agent, knowing like, hey, this is what we kind of want in a price range. How much do you think we have to save? So we kind of got some like calculations and trying to see how much we need to save, et cetera. And then kind of leading up to the day of closing.
What was like, did y'all sit down and come up with a game plan, or did you all just say, we're just going to throw everything we can into the savings, or was there a specific amount, a percentage that y'all would do?
So prior to that, she saw my bank statement, and I'm going to be honest. I do not, as being a single bachelor, like living alone, I didn't cook that much. I was always going out to eat, and I would say more than 50% of my funds went to food, bro.
Yeah.
Probably more than that. Food and bars and just hanging out with my friends and buying stuff that wasn't necessary.
Let's get the shots. I got shots. I got shots.
There was, don't get me wrong,
later.
there was a time where I was going to the bar every weekend and dropping like $300, man, and like it was
man. Like nothing, man. Like nothing. And it's like six drinks.
Basically, in Houston, drinks are expensive, bro. And like, so leading into that, and she just like, you got to stop going out to eat. You got to buy groceries. You got to get at home. Like she stopped what I was doing and gave me a whole plan. And like, this is what you need to do. Cause she had it all set. Like she knew what she wanted from me. Mm-hmm. And I guess you could say she was kind of like my mom, like, hey, you need to do this, this, and this for us to get to this at the end. So she gave me a list of things, what I needed to do, what I needed to save on, what I needed to change my habits on. And she set me straight. Like she gave me the ingredients, and I just followed, and it led to us, actually finding a house and, having a nice wedding and so on. So
what, so she's the one that seems to be more financial.
Oh yeah. She's great with money.
Responsible.
Like, heck yeah.
And it's, nothing wrong with that, right? It's one, there's gotta be one. So one of you has to be financially responsible.
Yes.
For me, it's me and my wife's the one that makes me more of like, it's okay to live in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably more of you, right? Like, let's live in the moment. Like, let's do whatever
I'm the moment guy.
But I'm the guy that's like, I'm thinking 40 years from now. I'm not thinking about tomorrow. I'm not thinking a year from now. I'm thinking 40 years from now. What am I going to be looking at? Or not 40 years, because I think I'll probably be dead by then. But, 30, 20 years from now, what is my life going to look like? And what do I want it to look like? And how can I shape that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all on you, right?
Yeah.
And so you were able to accomplish a goal in 10 months. And do you mind sharing how much you were able to save or put away?
Yeah. So initially for the house that we found, we were supposed to, with everything going on and the down payment and stuff like that, we had to put 10 grand towards the house. Mm-hmm. And then, for the wedding we were blessed. So what we had was her uncle owned a huge ranch. Mm-hmm. Kind of close to Pearland. I think it's called Rasharon. Mm-hmm.
Damn, it's that big if he has a name.
No, that's the name of the little town.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute.
No.
He owns a little ranch. It's named this. Like, no, anything.
But so what was cool enough, or like we were super blessed, but he let us use his ranch for our wedding. Uh-huh. With as of no charge. So that was a huge blessing. For us to have a location, and all we had to provide is, the food, the music, photographer, etc. Mm-hmm. And another thing that helped us financially was my uncle. Uncle's like, he competes in barbecuing and does competitions, and he has his own catering company.
Oh wow, that's
really cool. He catered my wedding.
Wow, man.
Yeah, so that was another financial thing I could cut out that I didn't have to pitch for. And then my sister was nice enough to contribute. She hired my DJ.
Oh wow.
And then that day as well too. Everybody, we weren't registered anywhere because at the time we were just like, hey, should we register? But we didn't know if we had a house yet. So it was kind of a mix of like, I don't want people to buy a bunch of stuff for our new home, but we didn't have a home, so it was kind of up in the air. So we were still kind of working the home stuff, prior to working up to the wedding day. So we're just saying, everybody just do, gift cards or cash or whatever they feel like, what they can bring in, whatever. So we did that, and we ended up making more money from the wedding than actually, putting into the wedding. So that was like another huge blessing. So we're just having blessings on blessings on blessings,
Yeah.
you know, leading up to that day. And then we
Sounds
end up
like a Future song.
probably does, but and then, you know, we end up closing on the house a week before the wedding, which was a miracle. I was just like, whoa, we found the house, got the house that we wanted, the price that we wanted, you know, the monthly note or mortgage that we wanted. It was like, it worked out perfect, you know? So we end up, benefiting from, you know, having the wedding, having our special day, and the wedding worked out perfect, you know? So, having those financial helps from, you know, family members, you know, et cetera. And then, able to save and then what we did for our honeymoon is my wife's favorite place to go is Zion National Park, which is located in Utah. It's a beautiful park, beautiful rock, hikes are just gorgeous and stuff like that. So we end up doing our honeymoon there, which was really inexpensive. I mean, the reason why we travel so much as well too is because we travel by car and we camp. You know, like people flying, renting hotels, those expenses get, you know, they stack up.
They add up really.
So we were fortunate enough to, you know, to do our honeymoon there, knowing that that's our favorite location. That's something that we enjoy. That's something that, you know, that we can honestly say that we'll have a good time. We don't have to go to Cancun or something out of, you know, out of the country.
Normal for
yeah. So we ended up doing that, and that was kind of, you know, inexpensive for us too. So this overall with everything, you know, with the house and stuff like that, we were very blessed to, you know, have some things kind of ready paid for us. So our main thing to kind of save up for was kind of just the house.
Oh wow!
So we end up saving, you know, the $10,000 to go towards the house, and then the extra stuff we got for, you know, the wedding, we kind of used it to, you know, buy furniture, etc. But just that during that whole time, it was just something that was meant to. I just felt like it was everything kind of happened for a good reason, and you know, everybody, you know, helping us towards the wedding and been, you know, doing everything they can, and it helped us in so long. And the wedding we had was super small. I think the wedding we had was like 80 people.
Oh wow! Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. So it was really small. There was a lot of people we wanted to invite, but we couldn't because, you know, inviting more people means more food, more money. So it was kind of, we tried to keep it in our price range. So
and sometimes it is better just to have a smaller wedding, man.
And it was a small intimate wedding, and everybody that was there was like someone that I have some type of connection with, where they've, you know, we've been there for each other, had some type of incident. They're a close family member. So it was something that, you know, a day that we can honestly say we cherish, and I appreciate everybody that was there. And, you know,
so I got to ask you, was your mom invited?
No, she was not. Dang. And like I said, it was an intimate wedding for people that were always there for us. So unfortunately at the time my mother wasn't there. So,
well, I mean, I understand that. My mom didn't show up to my wedding either. I invited her, and she said, and I spoke to her one time.
See, at least you invited her. I didn't attempt to. I didn't want to tell my mom the location. I don't want her to show up and just ruin my moment, because she's selfish like that. So it was just best for her to not know at all and just keep it that way.
Hey man, we got to do what's right for us, like you said, man. Yeah. And I mean, that's a great story. And honestly, I think I want to cap it there. I think we're at a good stopping point here. I think I really do want to have you back on. I like the vibe that we have. I like the energy that we have together. And so there's a couple other stories that we have that we could share, but I think we can save that for another episode. Cool. So as always, since it's your first time being on here, what is a life lesson you can give the audience?
Life lesson. I would honestly say finding happiness and being happy with yourself. I feel like growing up, I've went through a lot, you know, with my mother, and I've always tried to find ways to, I guess, to benefit, to help her, you know, to help her and have her, you know, kind of get out of her ways and stuff like that. And me noticing that, I was trying to make her happy instead of putting myself first. And me doing that, I noticed I wasn't getting things back in return. So I wasn't getting the love from her. I wasn't getting the respect from her. So me putting all that time and effort into somebody else was never benefiting me. So as I get older, I've noticed that, you know, you always got to find your own happiness and put yourself first. And I feel like if you do that, you know, great, everything else will follow through. So that being is I've noticing transition from, you know, not keeping a relationship with my mother and slowly transitioning, like, okay, what makes me happy? What makes me want to, you know, continue life and do better for myself? And
when I met Gray, that's when I realized I need to start doing that. I need to put myself first. And I feel like if I feel like I'm happy, I would know what I want. And I feel like those things would attract to me and good things would happen. So when I started doing that, I started getting, good things happen. I met Gray. We got married. I did things where, like my previous job, I was kind of it got to the point to where I wasn't happy. And I was just like, what do I want to do? What I want to, keep on going with. And I ended up, trying to move another job, and I got another job where I'm extremely happy at. And I feel like in life, everybody needs to be happy with themselves and see what they want in life before they, try to make somebody else happy. And doing that will I feel like it will follow through and have better things benefit you in the long run through life when you put yourself first in life and try to find your own happiness.
I think I totally agree with you, man. I totally agree with you. Once you find out what makes you happy, what makes you tick, that light that shines your happiness is infectious. It gets into the other people.
Yes.
And if you're bringing that to your relationship, then the relationship just doubles in
totally agree.
Power, man. And I think that's a great way to cap the show. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being so honest,
thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
And I think you've been a great guest. And as always, guys, if you like this and enjoyed it, hit that like and subscribe button down below. And if you or anybody else that has a story out there, please feel free to contact me at H-TownStories@yahoo.com. And we can talk and set up an interview. And with that, guys, until then, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.